Okay, in order to actually write an effective literature review, okay, there must be some variation on how the facts within the literature will be presented. So here, we are covering on the categories of complexity. So the literature can be presented in a more effective way by incorporating various categories of complexity of the reviewed literature. So there are 6 levels of complexity in literature review based on Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, Bloom's is actually a famous educationist whereby he actually has suggested, okay, 6 levels of uh, process of cognitive learning. Okay, we have level 1 is knowledge, level 2 is understanding, level 3 is application, level 4 is analysis, level 5 is synthesis, and level 6 is evaluation. So in general, okay, literature review can be organized based on roughly based on Bloom's taxonomy. So this is what I am proposing to you in this particular course. Okay, let us go to level 1, knowledge. Okay, now the knowledge level is commonly demonstrated by activities such as listing, defining, describing, and identifying. So at the very least, the researcher must demonstrate that he or she has read the article and extracted meaningful information from it. Example. Okay, this is actually an excerpt from a thesis. This is literature. So basically, this is what we consider as a knowledge level or level 1. Okay, now this example, let me read this to you. In SPM pure science subjects, one of the question papers, namely paper 3, specifically contains questions on the experiments within the syllabus. Based on the latest examination format of the paper, there are 2 question types, structured and open response. The total mark of the paper is 50 marks and the weightage is 25%. So this is cited from YIP 2014. So here you will see that what's included in this example is just a description. What is the examination format? Okay, and how many marks and the weightage. So it's just a plain description. Okay, so nothing much to understand. It's just a description. Okay, so basically this is considered level 1 literature. So this is level 1. So meaning that when we say that level 1 doesn't mean that the lower level is not good. Okay, so basically, and you will find, and I expect from students that much of the content that you include in the literature review will be of this level. Okay, meaning that we describe, okay, what is the situation, okay, or what is the domain area, okay, so what is the problem related to. So most of them are description. Okay, now this is an example of what I call pre-knowledge. Pre-knowledge means that it does not reach to the level of knowledge itself. Okay, for example, let me read this example. This excerpt is taken from these particular citations here. Other research also indicates that individual and group marks should be combined in group activities. Okay, now this is taken from several authors. Okay, but let us compare with another one that is related, but it is considered as a level 1 or knowledge level. Okay, Bucky and Quinlan 2000 interviewed 36 students participating in tutorial groups. These interviews indicated that the students felt they were becoming more conscious of learning processes of both themselves and their peers. Okay, now you can see that in the knowledge, the second one, okay, in the knowledge level, okay, there the description is more specific, okay, specific from this particular citation. And as a note, in the pre-knowledge, the citation certainly tells that the authors had something to say about certain issues, but the reader really don't have any idea what these references actually said. So meaning that although it says that yes, some it indicates that marks should be combined and so on, but you can see that we have no idea what is actually being said by all these authors in the pre-knowledge example. So will this kind of citation be accepted? Yes, as long as you cited it properly. But just for you to know that, okay, you can have some of this type of this pre-knowledge citations, but if you have too much of them, okay, then your review will not become a review. Okay, it's basically nothing much in terms of quality. Okay, now this is level 1. Okay, now level 2, understanding. So this is a higher level. So understanding is demonstrated by activities such as summarizing, differentiating, interpreting, and contrasting. Okay, let us look at one example. Okay, this example, okay, let me read this to you. The use of online virtual lab allows students to explore various possible scenarios by manipulating the input and observing the effect on the output. So this is taken from Rajendran, Velumuthu, and Divya 2010. Okay, the virtual lab approach allows students to simulate experiments anywhere at their own pace and time, therefore increases their performance in their areas of interest. Okay, now as a note, the sentence in green is added by the researcher based on her own understanding. So meaning that you can see that, okay, actually the paraphrase citation is the part from the use of online virtual lab until the citation, until Rajendran, Velumuthu, and Divya 2010. But after that, the researcher actually explains, okay, elaborate on what is actually happening, and she actually interpret this as sort of to add that this is allows that these experiments to be conducted at their own pace and time and increase the performance. So basically this is actually an addition, and this addition does not actually contradict, okay, what has been paraphrased in the one, but it actually adds some richness to the actual literature. Okay, so it adds value to this. Okay, so meaning that you are allowed to give your views. That is why it is called literature review. So if you just actually retain just the part from the use online virtual lab and so on, which is paraphrase, so meaning that it's literature citation, it's not literature review. Review means that you give your thoughts on what you have read, and in addition to actually capturing the original message from the existing authors, but you actually add your own. Okay, you add your own. So this is where the value of literature review. Okay, so this is an example of level 2 understanding. Okay, we have another example which I will compare between knowledge without understanding. So knowledge is, remember that this is level 1, and another one is level 2, which is understanding. Okay, let me read the first paragraph here. Han and Campbell 2001 suggests an evolution that moves from data collection and database creation towards data management and ultimately data analysis and understanding. So basically, this is just a paraphrase from the original text. Okay. Okay. Now, let us have a look at the second paragraph. So now this is understanding. Okay, let me read this to you. Han and Campbell 2001 suggests an evolution that moves from data collection and database creation towards data management and ultimately data analysis and understanding. For example, data processing is a base function enabling manipulation and aggregation of data, thus facilitating searching and retrieval. Okay, now the sentence in green is added by the researcher based on his own understanding. So meaning that you can see that, okay, the first part is actually a paraphrase. Okay, now the second part, the ones in green, is actually something that is added by the researcher himself, which is actually, this is a review. So at least he adds his own views. So now you can see that review, the minimum for you to say that this is literature review is when you achieve this level 2 understanding. So level 1 is just literature citation. Okay, so the first paragraph here, this is just the citation because paraphrase. It's not a review. But when you come into the level 2, then this is what we call literature review. Okay, so you have to understand it because chapter 2 is literature review, and what we find are many students, there's lots of literature but very little review. So this is important, something that you should try and to understand, and you are allowed to give your own thoughts, elaborate. Okay, elaborate based on your current context and your understanding of what you have read. Okay, now this is level 2. So let us go to the next level. Okay, now level 3 is application. Application is demonstrated by activities such as demonstrating, illustrating, solving, relating, and classifying. Okay, for example, this is just a general concept whereby this is where we classify and we try to relate between different concepts and also different source. For example, normally we will represent this in a form of table, but of course when you should elaborate, okay, what you put into the table in the paragraph. Okay, now what I'm going to show you is just the table, but of course there will be elaboration. You should elaborate. Okay, now this is one example. Okay, for example, I take an excerpt and part of this table. Now this is a table on comparison of existing learning platform applications. Okay, so you can see that what this particular student did was actually he tried to identify what are the themes, common themes across several learning platform applications, Now the themes including like the platform, the the bookmarking features, the document sharing features. So these are all features: searching, filtering, and sorting of content, smallest searchable content, interconnectivity of content, and so on. So basically, then you may want to ask, how do you identify the features? So basically, you need to identify the features based on what you think are important, okay, within your project. So meaning that you want to develop something, okay, for example an application, then you need to identify what are the things that is important for you to compare. Perhaps you want to consider to have these features in your project or in your outcome of your research. So this is the thing, okay. So here, so this is an example of comparison of the proposed application with two existing learning platform applications, namely Moodle 2020 and Open Learning 2020. So meaning that you can see that, okay, you need to actually have this citation in the paragraph or perhaps in the table itself. So uh, basically you need, what's important is that you need to put in the citation, okay. So sometimes, okay, the mistakes that we see students do is that the comparison has not been done by the student itself, but somehow the student actually find something, a comparison done by actually someone else. So meaning that sometimes there is a comparison and it takes the table done by people and put this here. So basically, now this level of citation, although it compares, but because the comparison was not done by the student himself, then this is not considered application. In fact, it is just considered as the pre knowledge citation, because it's just like copy and paste, just put there and say that, yeah, I refer to this one. So basically that is at the lowest level, okay. Even we consider pre-level 1. Okay, now let us look at another example. Now this is a comparison of the existing virtual lab integrating learning applications by their content, technology, and other features, and this is shown in this table. And you can see that it covers many features such as domain area, content reference, language, platform, technology use, and others. So I have to truncate the image because this is too long. But basically you can see that when you cover this, when you compare, this is not just a yes or no thing, okay. Sometimes there is description. For example, you see that the first one, the domain area, you have the different description of this. Okay, some of the comparison, sometimes it is, you are not sure or there's not sufficient information for you to make a conclusion. So here this particular student mentioned this as unspecified, meaning that it's not mentioned. So to say that there is or there is not, no idea, so you say that unspecified, okay. So basically these are actually one good example of a comparison, and this actually is considered as a level 3 or application level literature review, and this is considered actually higher than level 2, okay.